As I walk past those flags, the first thought that really struck me was the Global Compact, the representation of those flags as a world willing to work together for the common good, and start taking that to Africa and recognizes the challenges Africa face in a global economy, and in the same way the opportunities that are there, and taking that closer home to Nigeria and to the Niger Delta, and recognizing how much more could be done if we could just overcome a few issues of governance and anti-corruption and looking after each other. And I'm really happy I'm here in New York to be, in a very little way, attending this roundtable on corporate social responsibility and socially responsible investment has been a little part of trying to do something in Africa. 1 in 5 African is a Nigerian. That's important. And I heard somebody says that if you actually can get Nigeria right, you will get a huge part of Africa right.
You're born in Nigeria, educated in Nigeria, you've got a wife and 5 children. You must be incredibly proud of Nigeria and incredibly proud of what you do at Shell. And I guess it must be quite difficult for you when you see that reputationally Shell suffers quite badly in Nigeria. What is it you'd really like to tell people about Shell's operations in Nigeria that they just don't know?
I must say that I'm really proud of my country. I'm proud for the region. I'm proud of the region I come from, which is Niger Delta as well. A lot is being achieved, but not really presented properly in the world. And Shell, I've worked in Nigeria for 30-something years, about 37 years at Shell, and haven't worked anywhere else. So I must really have loved it, and I do love it, and I'm happy really working there and what we're achieving, and I'm proud of it. I wish people would know how the ordinary people, not the campaign NGOs, but ordinary citizens, the students, the odd 17,000 students on Shell Scholarship, how they value our presence. The government, who over 3 years from our onshore operations alone received something like 25 billion in taxes and royalties. The hospitals we run, the infrastructure programs we have on the ground, the beneficiaries of all those, and the thousands of people who are who work in ancillary businesses that are associated with the things we do on the ground. These are things we are very proud of.
Let's talk about gas flaring for a minute. Does gas flaring happen anywhere else in the world like it happens in Nigeria? Why is Nigeria always under the gun about gas flaring?
Well, I mean, gas flaring is bad wherever it exists. I mean, in Nigeria, I don't think initially actually intended to flare gas. It's just that the society didn't have the industries to actually use the gas in the early days of the industry, and flaring became a natural thing. At Shell, of course, we always recognized this was unsustainable, and we had been pushing an LNG gas gathering scheme for export LNG to monetize the gas for a long time, having already essentially put as much gas, domestic gas, into the domestic market to the extent the domestic market could take it. That today that something like 60% of the power generated in Nigeria comes from gas from Shell, and we also have a lot of private industries that actually get all their energy from Shell gas. We actually set up a company for that, Shell Nigerian Gas, just to promote gas as against liquid fuel for industries. So we have done a lot on flaring. But there are many countries in the world flaring more gas than Nigeria. I think Russia certainly does, but I don't think people want to talk about that. And quite a few countries in the Middle East flare gas as well.
So why does Nigeria become the focus of it all?
I think it has to do with, I would imagine, not from essentially environmental sense, maybe from an economic sense. Flaring essentially is a waste of resources for a country of 140 million people. So harnessing gas and monetizing gas is an important issue. But again, you will understand that there's also a bit of the company NGO. It's visible. It's one way of demonstrating, as it were, the failings of the oil and gas industry in the region. So it makes good pictures for campaign NGOs. And there is commitment all around, but I mean the government, of course, is committed to it, but never been able to fund its share of the amount required to do so. Like I told you, it's quite expensive to do.
So should Shell do it then?
Well, I always hear NGOs says if the government can't do it, why doesn't Shell just fund it? I like to say if you take our onshore operation, Shell pays 30% of the cost, but gets less than 3% of the total reward that comes from after cost. So there is no way from that margin, the low margin you get, you can fund a huge capital program. It has to be part of the cost program. It has to be all shareholders paying their share. Shell can't afford to do it on its own, I must say.